Welcome to RPG PhD, where we break down the art and science of tabletop role-playing games. I'm Dr. Ben, and today we're diving into the craft of creating and adapting monsters for your campaigns. Whether you're looking to build a terrifying new creature from scratch or give an old favorite a new twist, I'll guide you step by step on how to design monsters that challenge your players, fit your narrative, and elevate your game. Ready to unleash some unforgettable foes? Let's get started. The role of monsters in tabletop role-playing games are more than just obstacles for players to overcome. They are integral components of storytelling, world building, and gameplay. These encounters shape the tone of the campaign, highlight its themes, and provide players with opportunities to engage deeply with the narrative and their characters. A well-designed monster or challenge can drive the story forward, offering clues to a larger mystery, setting up future conflicts, or providing a pivotal moment for character development. For example, a recurring villain may act as a foil to the players, embodying the central conflict of the campaign and creating a personal stake in their defeat. Similarly, challenges that reflect the world's environment or culture can enhance immersion, such as a forest giant in a tundra region, symbolizing the harshness and dangers of the icy wilderness. In addition to reinforcing the narrative, monsters and challenges can communicate the themes of the campaign. In a story about survival, creatures might embody the relentless hostility of nature, forcing players to manage resources and adopt creative solutions to succeed. In a campaign centered on rebellion, encounters might emphasize the oppressive tactics of the ruling regime, pushing players to consider their own methods and alliances. These thematic elements deepen the stakes of the game, making every encounter feel purposeful and connected to the larger story. Finally, monsters and challenges are a core aspect of player engagement, testing both mechanical skills and creativity. A well-crafted encounter should provide a variety of ways to approach the situation, whether through strategy, teamwork, negotiation, or ingenuity. For instance, a deadly trap in a dungeon might be disarmed through a skill check, bypassed by magic, or avoided entirely with clever thinking and improvisation. Similarly, a combat encounter can be designed to challenge players tactically, such as using terrain or unique monster abilities to create dynamic and unpredictable scenarios. By balancing narrative, theme, and gameplay mechanics, monsters and challenges become more than just adversaries. They become key moments that define the player's journey and make the world of the campaign come alive. Designing new monsters and creatures for your tabletop role-playing game allows you to craft threats that feel tailor-made for your story, world, and players. These creations are opportunities to introduce unique challenges, deepen the lore of your setting, and surprise your players with something they've never encountered before. To make a monster truly memorable, it's important to consider its purpose within the world and the narrative. Ask yourself, why does this creature exist? Is it part of the natural ecosystem, like a predator adapted to the environment, or is it tied to a magical experiment, divine intervention, or a larger cosmic force? For example, in a cursed swamp, you might design spite wraiths, vengeful spirits bound to ancient trees, manifesting to punish those who desecrate the land. This monster not only presents a combat challenge, but also reinforces the setting's tone and mystery. Mechanics are the next step in bringing your monster to life. Start by defining its abilities in a way that reflects its lore. Unique attacks, traits, and vulnerabilities can set your creation apart. For example, a crystal revenant might have shards of enchanted crystal embedded in its body, allowing it to reflect spells back at casters unless those spells are from specific schools of magic, like necromancy or abjuration. This forces players to carefully choose their magical attacks and encourages teamwork as they experiment with different tactics to bypass the creature's defenses. Special abilities like grappling vines or acidic breath can add tactical depth, requiring players to think beyond brute force. Additionally, consider how the creature interacts with the environment. A lava strider could have immunity to fire and use pools of molten rock to evade attacks, making the battlefield an integral part of the encounter. Beyond combat, monsters can also serve narrative functions. A creature might be a guardian protecting a sacred site, a harbinger of greater dangers to come, or a symbol of the campaign's central conflict. In a campaign about a rising dragon cult, you could introduce draconic vassals, humanoid hybrids with dragon-like features who act as both minions and foreshadowing of the dragons themselves. These creatures could provide players with clues about the cult's goals or test their readiness for future challenges. Monsters with a strong connection to the story create encounters that feel meaningful and memorable rather than just random fights. Creating new monsters also allows you to explore the themes of your campaign. In a campaign focused on survival, you might design creatures that force players to conserve resources, like a desert predator that saps water supplies when it attacks. In a horror-themed game, your monsters could embody psychological fear, such as a shapeshifter that mimics trusted NPCs, sowing doubt and paranoia among the party. By grounding your designs in the world's lore, tying them to the narrative, and balancing their mechanics, you can create monsters that captivate your players and become iconic elements of your campaign. Adapting existing monsters is an efficient and creative way to breathe new life into familiar encounters while saving preparation time. By modifying the appearance, abilities, or context of a pre-existing creature, you can tailor it to fit the unique needs of your campaign, creating fresh and engaging challenges for your players. Reflavoring is one of the simplest and most effective ways to adapt a monster. This involves changing its description or role while keeping its mechanics intact. For example, a standard owlbear in D&D can become a frost bear for an Arctic campaign, covered in icy fur with the added ability to exhale a freezing mist, visually and thematically aligning it with the frosty environment. Or a troll could be transformed into a blight hulk in a forest setting, dripping with toxic sap that poisons players on contact. Mechanically tweaking monsters allows you to adjust their difficulty or create new strategic dynamics. This might include boosting their stats, adding unique abilities, or introducing vulnerabilities that reward player creativity. For instance, a goblin could become an ember goblin with the ability to explode in a fiery burst upon death, forcing players to strategize about where and how to engage it in combat. Or you could scale up a creature by giving it additional abilities that align with your campaign's themes. A standard vampire might gain the power to summon spectral wolves, emphasizing the eerie, haunted nature of a gothic forest encounter. Beyond individual monsters, you can adapt creatures to fit specific narrative roles. A modified enemy can act as a foreshadowing tool, a key to a puzzle, or a recurring threat. For example, a simple giant spider could become an arcane weaver, its web laced with magical threads that shimmer with runes, requiring players to solve a riddle before they can safely destroy the web. This adaptation adds narrative depth and ties the encounter to the lore of a magical region. Additionally, reworked monsters can serve as henchmen or avatars for larger forces within your campaign. For instance, a standard elemental could be adapted into a primordial shard, a fragment of an ancient god's power, symbolizing the larger cosmic stakes at play. Creating a new monster for your tabletop RPG involves crafting a creature that feels integral to your world and story while presenting engaging challenges for your players. Start by defining the monster's purpose, its role within the narrative and environment. Ask why the creature exists and how it ties into the larger themes of your campaign. In a campaign centered on a crumbling magical kingdom, you might design the Arcane Aberrant, a creature born from unstable magical energies left behind after failed experiments. This monster could highlight the dangers of unchecked magic, serve as an environmental hazard, and foreshadow the kingdom's ultimate downfall. Next, establish the monster's traits and abilities, ensuring its mechanics reflect its nature. Design unique abilities that challenge players in interesting ways. The Arcane Aberrant, for instance, might have unstable discharge, releasing bursts of magical energy when hit by spells, forcing players to carefully consider their magic usage. Additionally, it could have arcane absorption, allowing it to heal from damage caused by specific schools of magic, such as evocation. These abilities make encounters with the creature both dynamic and strategic. Consider the monster's weaknesses to reward player creativity. Tying vulnerabilities to the monster's lore can encourage thoughtful approaches. The Arcane Aberrant might be particularly susceptible to physical attacks from weapons enchanted with anti-magic properties, reflecting its fragile and unstable magical form. These weaknesses give players opportunities to experiment with tactics and adapt to the challenge. The environment plays a critical role in making the monster encounter memorable. Integrate the setting into the encounter to create a dynamic and immersive experience. For instance, the arcane aberrant might inhabit areas with lingering magical effects, such as zones of wild magic, where spells behave unpredictably. These environments not only enhance the challenge, but also reinforce the monster's connection to the world. Finally, tie the monster to the narrative to ensure it serves a purpose beyond combat. The arcane aberrant could guard the ruins of an ancient academy, where the party seeks a powerful artifact. His presence would emphasize the campaign's central theme of the dangers of magical hubris, making the encounter meaningful and relevant to the larger story. By following these steps, you can design monsters that are both mechanically engaging and narratively rich, adding depth and excitement to your campaign. Adapting an existing monster involves taking a creature that fits your needs and modifying it to suit the specific themes, tone, and mechanics of your campaign. The first step is identifying the monster you want to adapt. Choose a creature whose core mechanics or thematic elements align with your encounter goals. You might start with a basic troll as the foundation. The next step is to reflavor the monster, altering its physical appearance and backstory to match your campaign's setting and tone. In this case, the troll could be reimagined as the Blight Hulk, a corrupted forest guardian dripping with toxic sap, with twisted bark-like skin and glowing green veins, creating a more fitting antagonist for an adventure centered on nature's corruption. Once you've adjusted the appearance, it's time to adjust the monster's mechanics. Modify or add abilities to reflect the new identity of the creature. The Blight Hulk retains the troll's iconic regeneration ability, but gains new traits such as Toxic Burst, where the creature releases a cloud of poisonous spores when struck by a critical hit. It also gains resistance to non-magical weapons, making enchanted or magical gear essential for players to combat it effectively. Adding unique flavor helps the creature stand out. For the Blight Hulk, you might introduce Corrupted Ground, an effect that turns the terrain around it toxic, dealing poison damage to any player ending their turn within 10 feet of it. This forces players to carefully manage their positioning during combat, creating a memorable and tactical encounter. Finally, ensure that the adapted monster fits seamlessly into the narrative of your campaign. The Blight Hulk serves as a guardian of a sacred grove desecrated by a powerful villain, with its corruption serving as a visual and mechanical representation of the environmental devastation caused by the antagonist. This adaptation ties the encounter directly to the broader narrative, reinforcing the themes of decay and environmental destruction, and deepening the player's connection to the story. By following these steps, you can transform any existing monster into a unique and integral part of your campaign's world. And that's how you create monsters that aren't just obstacles, but unforgettable parts of your story. Whether you're crafting from scratch or adapting an existing creature, the key is to tie it to your world, challenge your players, and make it meaningful. If you've got monster ideas of your own or tips for creating memorable encounters, please share them in the comments below. I would love to hear them. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and make sure you hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of our adventures. Until next time, keep imagining, improvising, and immersing in the worlds you build. Thanks for watching. See you next time.